Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
Welcome to Big Bet, the sports wagering show from coast to coast and worldwide, highlighting the matchups, betting lines, and totals, and all you need to make the right decision. It's Big Bet, focusing our attention on the winning bet. Live from San Diego, it's Big Bet. And we welcome you from a warm and sunny Southern California on a Sunday. The date, February 2, 2020. Wade Taylor inside the WS Radio studios here in San Diego, California, America's finest city. And along with a lot of listeners out there, we have come to the end of the road. It's Super Bowl 54 live from Miami, and Big Bet has been there all the way, week in, week out. We were telling you the matchups, the lines, the totals, the injury reports, and a whole lot more. And today, we have one final game. Standing on one side from the West, the San Francisco 49ers. And from the Midwest, but from the American Football Conference, the Kansas City Chiefs. 50 years ago, they won their only Super Bowl. And the 49ers, well, they haven't won since Hector was a pup. But we have it all for you on this Sunday morning as we unfold what we consider one of our best productions and programs all year long. And to start it off, we go into the desert with the most valuable player of Big Bet, without any question, third year running. He has been a three-time MVP on this radio program. I don't think he was any better than he could be. Well, let me say that again. He was so good this year that I couldn't believe that he could top what he did last year. And that's my man, Bob Hutton, in the desert in Scottsdale, Arizona. Bobby Hut. Happy Super Bowl Sunday to you.
Same to you, Felix. We're looking at probably, as far as handle for this game and probably interest in this game, probably one of the better matchups we've seen in probably 20 years as far as the sides, as far as these two teams having a good chance to pull out the victory today. But as far as the matchup is concerned, it's very compelling. It's the San Francisco defense against the high-powered Kansas City offense, AFC against the NFC. I mean, there's a lot of things that are lining up. So I think this should be a very, very interesting game today. And I don't anticipate one of these blowouts that all of a sudden everybody's watching and they say, wow, we waited for this. I think this is going to be a very good game, probably coming down to the end.
Without any doubt about that. You know, we've been in, week out here with Big Bet. We have broke down the whole season. We went through the conferences. We talked about the strengths, the defenses, the weaknesses of offenses. We talked about layoffs. We talked about comebacks. We talked about injuries. And when you look at both of these teams, and I'll look as an observer, because I think this game is very, very equal on most sides of the football. What I think is that the advantage might be with the San Francisco 49ers defensive line. Now, all year, you and I, Tommy D, Matty B, who, by the way, will be around here just as you exit, because I know you have some Super Bowl preparations, Bob Hutton, to get to, and it's a busy day for you because you have a lot of prop bets that you might want to put in, and I don't blame you one bit. But when we look at the differences of these two teams, there is a mirror separating this studio from the production studio that our executive producer, Wade Taylor, is in. I could see him just through in a reflection, so to speak. There is a mirror that separates both of these studios. What I think is that these two teams are a mirror image of one another, and the separating factor would be San Francisco's defensive line. Would you agree?
Well, I think that's one of the key factors, Felix, but I do think on both sides of the ball, the interior line for San Francisco, the offensive line also, I believe they have an advantage. And one of the keys that I see in the game is that most teams, when they play Kansas City, they have to go ahead and they have to blitz a linebacker because they can't get pressure on the kid because he's so mobile, and he gets out of trouble. He's very creative. He could throw running backwards. He could throw the ball probably 70 yards in the air. I mean, the kid's a talent. I mean, he just really is, and he's got the league excited about a new kid coming in like this. And when I'm talking about the kid, I'm talking about Mahomes, obviously. But the fact is that San Francisco, they get the teams with four-man rush, with a three-man rush, and their front four it's probably one of the best I've seen in 20 years, especially with Bosa. He got Rookie of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, and he's worth every dime they're going to pay him in the future. But they could put pressure on him, and I don't think Kansas City has seen that kind of pressure this year, Felix. So I look for just the interior lines of San Francisco to probably dominate Kansas City's. That's where I see the advantage.
All right, the line opened up as a pick'em. It went to 1. It opened up like at 51. It is now Kansas City. Wherever you look, you might have a half a point either way, but not very much separates the number. And the only number that actually has been moving has been the total. It's now 54.5. The Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 1.5. So Vegas expects this to be a very, very tightly contested football game. Bob Hutton, I'm going to ask you this. Where does Vegas get hurt in this game?
Well, and I've been listening to the shows, and where they get hurt, Felix, is they've had a lot of Kansas City money coming in early, but they were anticipating the San Francisco money coming in late, and that's why they really haven't moved the line, even though they thought if they moved it to 2 or 2.5, somewhere in that range, that then the San Francisco money would come flying in and they could get hurt. So I think they've stayed the course. These guys are real smart, these line makers. I mean, they're so good at what they do. And so they were anticipating a lot of people from the Bay Area going into Reno and betting the 49ers, because they say when the 49ers played in the Super Bowl in the past that the Reno action would be 80-90% San Francisco 49ers for obvious reasons. And so I don't think they're going to get hurt, Felix, on either side, because I think the line, once they made it, it was pretty much, I know the total opened like at 52, went to 54.5, 54 some places, but I think they've been pretty consistent as far as they're not going to get hurt too bad, and there's not a favorite like that's because most people play favorites, and there's not a favorite in this game that's going to be overwhelming. And so I think they're going to get action on either side. So maybe the prop bets, but I really haven't looked at many of the props this year, and I'm not much of a prop better. I'll stick to the game.
I think if there's going to be a way that they get hurt is the total. Let's bring Tommy D into the broadcast on a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday. We are here on the WS Radio Network. This is Big Bet, along with Bob Hutton in the desert of Arizona. Tommy D right alongside the studio. Wade Taylor is producing and directing our program. We are going coast to coast worldwide, WS Radio Network, the worldwide leader in internet talk. This is Big Bet, the wagering show. I'm Felix Taverna. Tommy D, you heard Bob Hutton. He's been the MVP of Big Bet for his third straight year. You heard him talk about breaking this football game down. This is a game where, Tommy D, you have coaching a DNA inside you. You know exactly where you can slice the fat. What do you think about the lines, and what do you think about the total? Do you think Vegas could get hurt on this total being at a pretty high 54, but not the highest in Super Bowl history?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. The big show, like you said, the Super Bowl, excited when this day comes around every year. Friends and family get together. That's what it's all about, and watching some football. And this year, what a battle we have, Felix. The Kansas City Chiefs versus the San Francisco 49ers. And this quarterback matchup's one of the best we've seen in a long time, maybe in my lifetime. I'm anxious to see it. You got young Mahomes and you got Garoppolo, both young guys leading these teams. But, taking a look at the over-under, 55 is what I last saw. I don't know if it changed anymore there. But, they're expecting San Francisco 49ers defense to be able to contain Mahomes in that offense a little bit more. And I guess we'll find out. I think that more people are probably playing the over than the under just from a guess, but that's just me just throwing it out there. And I've been talking to people. I'm asking everybody's opinion. Everyone's got an opinion on the Super Bowl. Even if they're not a football fan, they have an opinion. And guess what? I'm getting about 50-50. We're here in Southern California, so you think you'd get more 49er fans. And yes, there is a lot of 49er fans. But it's funny because somebody the other day that knows nothing about football, and he goes, "Who do you like in the Super Bowl?" And I said, "The Chiefs." And he goes, I've never heard anybody say that. And this guy knows nothing about sports. So it's funny to think from his aspect. He says the 49ers all the way because the 49ers is a team that people know for winning, Felix. But I'm excited to watch this one. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking for the Chiefs here. Mahomes, I don't think you could stop him. Garoppolo is doing great, but they figured a way to get Henry contained last week and get the Titans off their game plan. I expect Andy Reid to do the same thing. And Mahomes, his key thing is throwing on the go. And those guys and his wide receivers, Kelsey, Watkins, and Hill, all those guys, they run excellent routes. You know what I mean? They run off the routes, and that's key, I think, and that's really important moving forward. Mahomes he's a monster in figuring it out, Felix. But I think it's going to be a great game. I think it's going to be a close one. I don't think the Chiefs could go down 10 points against this defense. That's all I'll say. I think they need to come right out and fire away.
I agree with you. I also would add that I don't know anybody who has taken the under in this game. However, I do. I met this guy this week, and he told me the under. It has been heavy weighted with the over. I think the biggest over we've ever seen in the Super Bowl was between the Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots. I think that was 57. I went back and checked on it one day, so I might be off by a point, or I might have got the wrong two teams, but I don't think so. It doesn't make a difference. I just wanted to see if 52 or 54 would be perhaps the highest total that we had. I think Vegas gets hurt if the game goes over. I think everybody's on the over. The sides are, like Bob said, I don't think that it matters because you're going to get equal value of teams. I know this game, this line won't close at a 1 or 2. It'll be like a 1.5 or a half. They're going to get paid. They're not going to set themselves up for any pushes. A 28-27 with a 1-point spread. They're not going to set them up. All week long, I've been going back and forth. I'm wearing a Kansas City Chief jersey as we speak. You're wearing your Los Angeles Laker hat in memory of Kobe Bryant. This is Super Bowl Sunday. This is Big Bet, the wagering show. We've been there all the way, all season long. Matty B going to be joining us here at the bottom of the hour. And I believe that this show has done some great work all year long. Tommy D, you dove in with the colleges and really broke down and watched the college football teams every single week. You got really acclimated to the pros. Your two team were Chief Eagles. Well, your half of it is playing today. The other one got to the playoffs, but couldn't fire a lot of injuries. Bob Hutton has been totally unconscious here. If you followed Hutton, you probably played at a very, very high 60% or more clip, because there was very few times he came on, if any, that he had a losing day. He might have been 3-4 one weekend, but then he came back with a 5-2, a 6-0, and as the season progressed, he got a lot hotter, and he stayed in that zone. But he did the work every week. He gets up. He on a Tuesday he starts his preparation, watching the moves of the lines, and I've always said, Tommy D, if you do the work, then you better expect the win. When you don't win is when you don't do the work. When folks just come in and they start picking teams out of the hat because of the names that they like or for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's a long season, and you got to pay attention, dig into the stats and some of the trends, and sometimes the trends are meant to be broken also. But it's really about, digging in, and if not, following the people that are doing it and winning. And Bob Hutton's been doing a great job on the show all season, college and pro football. So, happy to be able to hopefully giving people winners out there, and keeping it strong. And hopefully the Super Bowl, we could come up with some good advice here for everybody.
Bob didn't say. Bob said that he doesn't follow any of the prop bets. Why not, Bobby? I mean, the prop bets might be some edge there. Isn't there one prop bet that you like?
Nah, because usually the juice on those is 15-20%, Felix, and I just think that's not a very good advantage. So I just look at the numbers, and it's almost like now the big thing today is, even in Vegas, or if you've got a sophisticated somebody you play with, it's the live betting now is in-game betting is a big deal. And if you look at the in-game betting in some of these games, you might see one side where it's laying $1.12, and then the other side you got to lay $1.50. I mean, the juice in those things is just exorbitant. But people think that they have an advantage because they're sitting there watching the game. They get a feel for what's going on, but the juice on those deals, just kind of like the props, they could be a little high, and that's why I'm very careful. I'll look at them and I'll see, and I'll try to find one that I like, it just for maybe for shits and giggles. But as for the most part is concerned, the juice is just too high on those things. But I was thinking about, to go back to your first question to me, how could they get hurt? I could tell you how they could get hurt. If somebody wins by 3 points and it lands on 54, they could get hurt. And the reason is because they've moved the line on the total a little bit. But if it lands on 3 and 54, that means everybody that played a teaser is going to win.
That's interesting, and I didn't give it a thought about that. How do they get hurt if it ends on 54? That would be a push?
Well, if you bet a teaser and you bet a 6, 6.5, or 7-point teaser, you tease it up or tease it down. If it lands right around the number, you're going to win no matter what. Same thing with but right now the line is 1 that I've seen. So now the 49ers, if you played a 6.5, or you'd get 49ers plus 7.5, which I'm sure that's probably some people are really leaning in that direction. Or you would have Kansas City plus 5.5. So if it lands on 3, right? I mean, they lose every teaser bet. So that's where Vegas doesn't want this number to land right around 3. That would be really bad for them as far as teasers are concerned.
Let me ask you this. Where is the money right now? Is all the money on Kansas City to win? Is that why they're a 1.5 favorite? I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that's going to be.
Well, they came in with some big bets this week. I know they were. I thought I read that somebody bet like $550,000 and $200,000 on Kansas City, and the big bets were coming early in on Kansas City, and that's why they had to move it a little bit. But like I said earlier, they anticipated the San Francisco money to come in late. And that would be interesting to watch, to see if there's any movement in this line when it gets closer to kickoff time. Because if that's the case, if you see the line come down or to a pick, that just means the San Francisco money came in. But, at a pick, and if it landed on a pick, it stayed on a pick, then Vegas is okay. But I really don't think they want, if they had equal money on both sides, I know they don't want a 3-point game, because then all of a sudden all those teasers are in play. And that's what they that's what they want to avoid.
Mattress Mac bet $1 million on the 49ers plus 1.5 points. And so I think the late money will be coming in here as we approach 3:40 kickoff of Super Bowl 54 on the West Coast, 6:40 on the East Coast. We welcome you, Frank in Buffalo, and all the other friends that are along for the ride on this Sunday morning, Super Bowl 54. What's your best prop bet, Tommy? Well, let me say that again. Tommy D, what's your best prop bet?
Okay, here's one for you. Second half to outscore first half, minus 110. The second half, 17 out of the last 20 Super Bowls, 85%. It's looking like they score more in the second half, Felix. I think that might be a strong play. I think the games start off a little bit slower. But according to the last 20 Super Bowls, 17 of those times were second half overscores.
Here's one that I did see. You guys, Patrick Mahomes will run for 35 yards. What do you think about that, Bob Hutton? You think Patrick Mahomes gets 35 yards?
Well, if he breaks containment, he will. And these guys for San Francisco, the front four, they rush upfield. They're not. I don't think they're going to try to just contain him in the pocket like Tennessee did with Jackson when they played him in the playoff game, and that's why they beat him. They just kept him in the pocket. And they made him throw. This kid, if you keep him in the pocket and you just make him throw, he's gonna hurt you. The other thing that for the 49ers is going to be a little bit of an issue, Felix, in this game, and you were talking about the total, is that when they played Seattle this year, they had trouble containing Wilson. And it seems like they have a little more problem with a running quarterback. So that could be an issue as far as if he breaks containment and the receivers go ahead and break off their pattern, and all of a sudden they got huge plays down the field. So that's kind of San Francisco's Achilles heel, I think, when people talk about the defense, because I think the defense is solid. I'm really impressed with the front seven, but I don't think the back four are that stellar as far as they're gonna stop Mahomes. I mean, I think Mahomes will go ahead and move the ball up and down the field, but it's just about if they can get to him or not. Because if they can get to him and they create third and 15s and things like that, then they can get off the field, and then they can get on the field and run the ball. And I think that's going to be their take on it. But I saw a prop and you asked me, and I did see one and that I thought was a little interesting, and the prop was basically, will anybody else throw a pass besides Mahomes and Garoppolo? And these two offensive minds are pretty creative. So I would not be surprised to see a trick play where somebody besides those two throw the football.
I saw one where Kyle Shanahan lose a 28-3 lead like he did against the New England Patriots. I think you get
No, there wasn't one out there
That's
like
me.
that.
I swear to God, it was. No, there was. I swear. I did read this, and you could back it up. Kyle Shanahan, who was the offensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons, who lost a 28-3 lead to the New England Patriots and lost that Super Bowl. There is one there, without any doubt. The length of the national anthem, a minute 59, over or under, heads or tails. I mean, they make up all these prop bets. Who will golfing. There's a big golf match in your neck of the woods in Arizona that has the leader shooting, the first 9, the first half or whatever. They have all these. I don't know where they come up with it. Lizzo, Jennifer Lopez, and Shakira singing at halftime. What would be, the MVP? Who will he thank first? Will he thank his teammates? Will he thank God? Will he thank his family? I mean, they have it all laid out there. Do you have any more prop bets that you want to bring along for the ride, Tommy D?
You know what? I didn't dig in too much of the prop bets, to be honest with you. I'm playing straight up like Bob said, but, it's fun to watch them. and pay attention to the trends and what people are saying, because some of them are so crazy. Like the national anthem, it depends on who's singing. I guess you got to dig in. And what if you know that person and say, "Hey, could you pipe it up a little bit longer for me?"
I agree with you.
You know what I mean? It's like
yeah.
because some of them you can't, like heads, tails. There's nothing you can do about
right.
that.
So if you're singing the national anthem, I say, "Hey, Tommy D, I got 10 dimes on it going over 1:59. Can you maybe just give me a Marvin Gaye version of it and stretch it out over that 2-minute warning, that 2-minute period of time?" All right, Bob Hutton, I know you got to get your day on the way. We want to thank you, as always. Just a tremendous season on Big Bet here. We can put this show up against anyone in the country with you, Matty B, Tommy D, Wade Taylor producing and directing, as we get down to the nuts and bolts of it. The line, Kansas City -1.5, 54 is the total. Where do you see it? How do you play it? How's Bob Hutton betting Super Bowl 54?
I was my best play would be the 49ers +1 or 1.5, and then my second play, as far as the total was concerned, I would tend to agree that it's going to go over the total. I think that there'll be enough plays on the field today, and as far as and both offensive minds are pretty creative, and I don't see this being a 3 yards in a cloud of dust game, even though I believe the 49ers can be very successful at running the ball. But I think the difference, and a lot of people say that, he only threw 8 times last game. Well, he only need to throw 8 times. He didn't need to do anything else. When you run the ball for 10 yards a carry, I think you'd be stupid if you threw it at all. But today, Kittle's going to make a big play down the field, and he's been pretty quiet the last a couple of weeks, and I look for him to have a big day today.
See, you changed my mind. I come in here thinking the 49ers. I talked with you on the way to the studio this morning. I talked about this game. I came in with the 49ers, and then listening to your analysis, one thing that stuck out was the fact that you went back and talked about Seattle against the 49ers. And one thing that I'm really afraid of, and you're right about the defensive backs. Richard Sherman is one. Other than that, I mean, Mahomes can throw the deep ball. So you're going to have to make sure that all those Kansas City receivers are in front of you, because if anybody gets behind them, I mean, like in the San Francisco 49ers secondary, Mahomes can throw the long ball. And that changes me a little bit. That changes my analysis. Anyway, Bob, I know you got to get going. I will talk with you after the radio program. Thanks for a great season. Enjoy your Super Bowl. Kiss your wife, and we'll catch up real soon, Hut.
Okay. Take care, guys.
Bob Hutton, the best in the business without any question. 3rd year running MVP of Big Bet, as we break down week to week in the college and professional football ranks. And boy, what a job he has done. Here's somebody on a Tuesday, Tommy D, Bob Hutton, that gets all the lines, college football, pro football, and then he starts dissecting. He gets the weather report, and he puts a lot of time in. And, in order to win, you have to put the time in. We always say that on Big Bet here, and he does that, and he's been a real big winner. This last weekend of the regular season in the NFL, I think that he swept every bet that he placed. And, when you have those kind of days, you kind of feel like you're king of the mountain.
Oh, the gambling, yeah, of course. That's what we're all looking for as placing our bets on the day is, hey, if we could hit all of our bets today, we're going to make a little ching. Unbelievable. Bob had a great season. And, listen to him talk about the Super Bowl here. And, I kind of agree with you. The little point he threw in there with Seattle. And I was actually walked in here thinking the Chiefs, I'm going to stand behind my team. I'm going to stand behind Patrick Mahomes. That's really how I look at it. I'm putting really the game on Patrick Mahomes and probably Andy Reid's play calling. And Andy Reid does have the experience. Yes, he's never won the big Super Bowl. But, I mean, this guy goes to the playoffs year after year, takes teams, turns them around. You got to have respect for the man. And Mahomes, he's just the X factor, I think, really. And nothing against Garoppolo. I think Garoppolo knows how to manage the game. But, Mahomes is the NFL right now. Everybody knows Mahomes. If there's one guy people know, it's Mahomes. And I think that's why a lot of people are probably going for the Chiefs over the 49ers is because of Mahomes. And that's exactly why I am. I feel like I'm just going with the general public here, but I believe that Mahomes is the X factor. He's going to be able to play it out. 49ers defense is definitely a better team. But if we look at, they 37-20 against Green Bay. So that's 57 points. I really like the over. If I had to take one, because I'm going a little back and forth, I'd probably go with the over here as a bet. Remember the big New Orleans shootout that they won, the 49ers? That was a big, big game. But the Chiefs, look at their last three games, 35-24 versus Tennessee, Houston, 51-31, and then the Chargers, 31-21. And I know those defenses aren't as good as the 49ers, but Mahomes, they're going to, if they get down, if they're ahead, they're going to keep pushing. I think the Chiefs are going to just play it out today. It's going to be a great game. I could see, I wouldn't be mad at anybody that said they thought the 49ers was going to win today, but I believe Mahomes and the Chiefs pull it out, Felix.
I wouldn't dispute that. I mean, this is one time when I think that it's a Libra Super Bowl. And what I mean about the Libra are the scales. They balance it out. It's like a seesaw. Whoever tries to get up, they're going to be balanced. And just to remind you, Wade Taylor, just to remind you inside the studio here, and Tommy D, and everybody listening to Big Bet, the Super Bowl is the second largest day for U.S. food consumption after Thanksgiving Day. All right? In addition, the Super Bowl has frequently been the most watched American television broadcast of the year. The 7 most watched broadcasts in American television are Super Bowls. In 2015, Super Bowl became the most watched American television program in the history with an audience of 114 million viewers. The 5th time in 6 years that the game had set a record. So, get the food out. Get your eyeballs ready. Super Bowl 54 is with us as we head down into the Big Easy to bring in Matty B. Big time Matty B. By the way, the sixth largest watched television program was Matty B and his girlfriend. Right? I mean, was that pay-per-view, bro?
I hope that wasn't the case.
Was that pay-per-view or was that just on regular ESPN? Anyway, my brother, how are you? Good to have you again. And, wow, I'll tell you what a season we have had. We just had Bob Hutton on. You have been unconscious. Tommy D has been great. This has been Big Bet. It's been 3 talking heads, Bob Hutton, Matty B, Tommy D, produced by Wade Taylor inside the studio. Week in, week out, through college, through professional football, we have come to the end of the road. What do you think about this one?
This is a tough one, Felix. I mean, this is the 3rd closest line in Super Bowl history? Has there been, I think, right? 1.5 points. There's a reason why. You don't know what you're going to get with these teams. You've seen the Chiefs, get blown out early. Houston dropped a bunch on them before they just decided to turn everything on. The Titans, gave them everything they could handle for a good 3 quarters there, and they jumped out on top of them. And then you got the Niners, who have been a team that's been doubted all year, and rightfully so. They were 4-12 last year, and no one knew what you were going to get this year. But I tell you, what Lynch has done, what Shanahan has done from building this team inside out, making sure that the offensive and defensive lines are where their focal points were for building this team, and in just 3 years for John Lynch to take over and get this team to the Super Bowl is absolutely remarkable. Their running game is unlike anything I've ever seen as far as a 3-headed monster with pick your poison with Breida, with Mostert, with Coleman. I've been a big fan of Mostert since the end of last season. He had a great showing before he got hurt. And then the Chiefs, you talk about high-powered offense, and everything Andy Reid wanted to have in Philadelphia, he has in Kansas City. It's going to be a hell of a show. This is going to be a very, very interesting Super Bowl, and I've said it for the last couple of weeks. I think the first quarter is going to be very important because San Francisco wants to beat you down with their running game. They want to beat you down with their defense. Meanwhile, the Chiefs can score in a blink. I mean, you can get 3 touchdowns out of the Chiefs in 3 possessions, and it only took a minute and a half off the board. So I don't know what to expect from this game. I'm very excited to find out who really steps up today.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Andy Reid has won a Super Bowl before, right?
No, he has not.
He hasn't.
He has not. Every coach in front of him, Curly Lambeau to Bill Belichick to George Halas, they all have at least 2, if not 6, NFL championships. And Andy Reid is the 6th winningest coach of all time and doesn't have one. He went to one. It was the one that Terrell Owens played on a broken leg and Donovan McNabb threw up in the huddle, and they ended up losing to the Patriots 24-21. But he has not won one yet.
What year was that? 2004?
2005.
Five, yeah. Yeah, got it 15 years ago.
After the Panthers won.
Right.
Because the Eagles kept losing in the NFC Championship game. They lost to the Bucs. They lost to the Rams. They lost to the Panthers.
Right.
They finally got there and just couldn't quite get over that hump to take down the Patriots.
Absolutely right about that. A lot of people be rooting for Andy Reid, the Walrus. He needs to get that monkey off his back. When's the last time the 49ers have won the Super Bowl? Was that mid-'90s?
That would be getting the monkey off their back and Steve Young, because they had their chance against the Baltimore Ravens a few years back in New Orleans when the power went out at halftime or so. And, the Ravens just beat them up and down in the first half, and the Niners put on a show in the second half, came down to a goal line stance for the Ravens, basically, to get that victory. But, for the Niners, their last championship, 1995 against the San Diego Chargers. Natron Means and co. Was it Humphreys was the quarterback, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the last time San Francisco raised the Lombardi.
Well, you have a direct connection with John Lynch, and so do I. I coached him as a 6th grader at the San Diego Boys and Girls Club in Solana Beach playing basketball. I watched his whole middle school, junior high, high school career, college, going to Stanford, being drafted by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, having an illustrious career with the Buccaneers, and then signing with Peyton Manning and John Elway, and being a member of the Denver Broncos, and having a great football career. His father was the head of the mighty 690, 1090, double X radio, whatever it was called. John Lynch was notorious and illustrious in bringing radio, sports radio, to San Diego. Noble Communications go a long way, and you were part of that. You were part of that group, and you, without question, must have seen John Lynch 100 times come through that studio to visit his father, his sister, who Kara, who also worked there. So, I'm really close to the family as far as seeing them sprout their wings. And 3 years ago on Facebook, I said when he took the job, when he went after the job, John Lynch went after this job with no front office experience. He went to Kyle Shanahan and said, listen, I want the job as the general manager. You're going to be the next coach, and you bring me in, and I'll build you a team. Well, that's exactly what happened. He got a lot of mentoring from John Elway when he was at Denver. John Elway and John Lynch are very, very good friends, obviously. And he was always that kind of a young man to me, always sharp, just personable as you ever wanted to be, and just very gifted. Tremendous baseball player, by the way, John Lynch was, as John Elway was. And John Lynch wanted to be a quarterback. When he went to Stanford, I think Denny Green was the coach there, if I stand correct. The late Denny Green, which I miss every single day, because Denny Green was a good friend of mine, and I loved seeing him and talking football with him. But getting back to John Lynch, in 3 years, he has rebuilt that whole entire San Francisco 49er football team. And Tommy D, they play like John Lynch played when he played in the NFL.
Yeah, they're tough and rough, that's for sure. This defense is knock them down and beat them when they're down, for sure. Today, they do have a big obstacle with Patrick Mahomes and the rest of the crew here, but it's going to be what a game. And, one thing that, I wanted to bring to attention is both leading wide receivers. I don't know if this has ever happened in Super Bowl history, are tight ends. Kittle and Kelsey both lead the teams with Kittle has 1,053 yards, and Kelsey had 1,229 yards. Both had 5 touchdowns.
Wow.
I'm sure that's never happened before.
You talk about
correct.
You talk about the tight ends. I mean, these guys define what a tight end is. Kelsey from Cincinnati and Kittle from Iowa. Boy, did somebody tell me, Matty B, that, with all this information that I've been consuming all week, Iowa has 3 top tight ends that are in this game?
In this game?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh, I mean, I would, I would not be surprised they have, top tight ends in the NFL right now. I mean, the Lions, their first-round pick this past year was T.J. Hawkinson. He's from Iowa himself. I would not be surprised if they had some great tight ends in the NFL. I did not know 3 of them were on these 2 teams combined. That's amazing.
What you just settled it. What that gentleman was sharing with me is that Iowa has 3 top tight ends within the NFL that are top 5 or top 10 tight ends within the whole league, and Kittles is one of them, and the gentleman that you just mentioned plays for your Lions is another. But just like Penn State was linebacker, Iowa could be tight end. Continue on. What were you going to make a point, Matty B?
Oh no, but Tommy was absolutely right. You've never had 2 1,000-yard receiving tight ends face off in the Super Bowl. So this is groundbreaking for that. We got the Joe Montana Bowl, obviously. He played for both of these teams. One a little bit longer than the other, but he still did some pretty great things in Kansas City as well. Took them to an AFC championship game before his career was all said and done. So I'm hoping it's Joe that's going to be flipping the coin for this Super Bowl, considering it's his 2 teams that are going at it. But this is going to be a fun game, a game of wills, because you got 2 completely different teams here. Both have the ability to score a bunch of points, but in very, very different ways. Garoppolo really getting the short end of the stick here with all the talk about Mahomes. And I understand. You have to talk about the guy who's, had 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards last year and won the MVP. But just because he was handing the football off, Garoppolo was, the entire NFC Championship game, doesn't mean this kid can't sling the rock. He learned under one of the greatest, maybe the greatest of all time in Tom Brady. He's got 2 rings from sitting on the bench. He's got all the mentality to be ready for this game because he has the practice to be ready for this game. And he can sling the rock. He just doesn't have to as much because of that imposing, intimidating ground game. But it's going to be interesting to see if Kansas City is able to get out to a 14-point lead, let's say, on the Niners. What are the Niners going to do? Are they going to stick with that run that has been so dominant, but it eats up clock, and they might not have the ability to eat up that much clock or have the time to do it and need to score a little quicker, and it's going to be on Garoppolo's shoulders to get it done? I think he can. We just haven't seen that much of it. We saw a lot, like Tommy said, against New Orleans in that game. That was a big back-and-forth game where he got Garoppolo got the last laugh with that throw to Kittle. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens if Kansas City gets up by a couple touchdowns on San Francisco and vice versa. We've seen Kansas City come back the last 2 games they played against run-heavy teams with good defenses. But this is a better defense and a completely different style running attack because this is not Derrick Henry, who was fantastic all year, but 3 different styles of running that you're going to have to find a way to stop if you're Kansas City. So I'm very, very interested in how this game plays out and who imposes their will.
Well, I could tell you one thing. This is gospel. And I ran into John Lynch Sr. at the Brigantine restaurant and asked him, how did Jimmy G become a San Francisco 49er? And the truth of the matter is that Robert Kraft called Bill Belichick and said, we have to trade Jimmy G. And Bill said, why? And Tom Brady didn't like Jimmy G looking over his shoulder. And if you remember, I tell the story all the time. You remember that the Patriots could have got 2 number 1 draft choices for Jimmy G on the night of the draft, and they did not trade him. And then the pressure continued, and Kraft continued to stay on Belichick to trade Jimmy G. Well, John Lynch, who was broadcasting for Fox prior, Fox Sports, on the football games, had a good relationship with Bill Belichick. And then he took the general manager's job of the San Francisco 49ers. And one day he was in his office, and it was Bill Belichick, and he said, "John, I'm sending Jimmy G to you." And he said, "What?" He said, "Yep, we're trading him to you, and all we want is a second-round pick." Now, this was the way to give the finger to Robert Kraft, Bill Belichick, because can you believe that the 49ers got Jimmy G for just a mere second-round draft choice, Matty B?
I mean, look, it was very lucky for them, absolutely. And I know there's been a lot of turmoil with that one as far as New England is concerned. If whether or not they made the right move, they've gotten one more Super Bowl since letting go of Jimmy G, but may have given up their next decade for it. So, it's definitely controversial.
You know where Jimmy G went to college?
He went to, I saw it recently. Man, I'm drawing a blank.
I know. Yeah, Midwestern, right? Area?
Yeah, Midwest. FCS school.
Oh, my God. I'm drawing a complete another blank.
Time's up. You can't Google anymore, Tommy D.
I got it.
Where is it?
Eastern Illinois.
Eastern Illinois. You know who
they have a team?
Yeah. You know who the other Hall of Fame quarterback that came out of Eastern Illinois?
No.
That's why you tune into Big Bet every Saturday and Sunday, ladies. You always tune into Big Bet because you get great analysis from Bob Hutton, you get the ups and downs from Tommy D, and you get the blanket coverage from Matty B. Tony Romo went to Eastern Illinois. And so did...
Oh, sure. You said Hall of Fame. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
Oh, he will be. He's in the Hall of Fame of broadcasting.
Might be, but he's not a Hall of Famer yet.
He will be in both. He'll be a Hall of Fame broadcaster as well. Who gets the Super Bowl? Is this Joe Buck and Troy Aikman today?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's on Fox.
Fox, yeah.
Would love to see Tony Romo. He was terrific in that game.
I like Buck.
Buck is okay. I mean, Buck and Troy Aikman are okay per me. But Tony Romo, that game last year that he called, every single play that he called, they ran the next play. It was just like he was the quarterback of the team. He was calling. Jim Nantz was saying, what do you think is going to happen right here? Well, this corner's going to come up, and he's going to take the ball, and he's going to do this, and he's going to do that. And that's exactly what happened. What's on your mind, bro?
No, I just wanted to jump in real quick about Garoppolo, Mahomes real quick. Just take a look at a little comparison. Garoppolo actually had one more touchdown, 27. Mahomes had 26. But, guys, what I'm looking at is 13 interceptions for Garoppolo and only 5 for Mahomes.
That's good. So give me that again.
And also,
27 touchdowns for Mahomes?
No, 26 for Mahomes, 27 for Garoppolo.
Okay.
13 interceptions for Garoppolo, 5 for Mahomes. And if you look at the teams that the 49ers played all year, it was a pretty soft schedule. I'm not going to lie. They had a pretty soft schedule.
Who had the soft schedule?
The 49ers.
Yeah.
I think the Chiefs had probably not the hardest schedule either, but if you go through it, you're looking at Tampa, Cincy, Pittsburgh, Cleveland, the Rams, the Redskins, Carolina, Arizona. Hold on, Week 10, they finally get a match against Seattle, but they lost 27-24. The Cardinals, okay, they beat Green Bay. They lost to the Baltimore Ravens, who got knocked out in the AFC.
Right.
They did beat New Orleans.
Yeah.
They lost to Atlanta.
Yeah.
When Atlanta was pretty beat down.
Yeah.
The Rams, they beat Seattle.
Yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, looking at that, and then Minnesota and Green Bay again. But, I mean, they're scheduled. I mean, who they played, and, for Garoppolo to have, that many interceptions against some bad teams, too.
Well, don't get rid of that schedule yet. Go back and just refuel me. Did the 49ers start? They were the last unbeaten team in the NFL. Were they 8-0 before they lost?
They lost to Seattle in Week 10.
So they were 9-0 or 8-0?
8-0. They had a bye.
They had a bye, yeah. So they won 8 straight, and they lost to Seattle. But in the first 4 weeks or the 5 weeks of that season, they played Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Cleveland, which were all horrible AFC North teams, correct?
Yes.
So that's 3 easy wins. Matty B could have directed those wins with against the Steelers, against the Bengals, against the Browns. Couldn't you, Matty B?
Yeah, San Francisco had an easy start. Their schedule definitely got harder the second half of the season, and they still navigated it pretty well. I mean, you're losing on the last play of the game basically all 3 times. You know, you lost to Seattle in overtime, you lost to Baltimore at the end, and you lost to Atlanta because you couldn't keep them out of the end zone at the end. But that's really it for them. And then, really, the defense got healthy again because a lot of that near the end of the season, they were missing, D4, they were missing a secondary player, they were missing a linebacker, and then they all got healthy again at the end of the year in that first bye week, and it really showed against Minnesota. I mean, they just beat the pants off the Vikings, and then did the same thing to Green Bay before kind of letting off the gas. The same thing with Kansas City. I mean, not the hardest playoff schedule. The Titans had a hell of a run to get to the AFC Championship in the first place, taking down the defending champs, who should have had a bye in the first place, and it should have been Kansas City starting the actual the wild card round. But thanks to the Dolphins, that changed everything. And they didn't have to face Baltimore either, who had won 14 straight games before losing to the Titans as well. And so Houston, their first round for Kansas City, not the toughest of tests, despite being down 24 points, they made it a tougher test. But Houston is not a great team by any means. They definitely have people to be great, but they are not a great team yet. Tennessee had a hell of a run after putting Ryan Tannehill in. Yes, I said Tannehill. They had a hell of a run with him in there. But it's not like either one of these teams really had a difficult task to get to the Super Bowl this year.
I would partly agree with that. I would all in with the AFC because let me tell you, many thought that Kansas City should have been in the Super Bowl last year when they played in the AFC Championship game and literally got robbed in Foxborough. They had that game won. There was some questionable calls and flags and just things that
don't line up offsides, D Ford.
Yeah. Well, wasn't there like there was a lot of things I can't remember all that went in there, but I just know that Kansas City, and that was a high-scoring shootout, was it not?
Yeah, their game with the Patriots last year in Arrowhead for the AFC Championship.
Was it like 38-35 or something like that?
Somewhere up there, yeah.
All right. So, for all purposes to share, the Kansas City Chiefs should have won the Super Bowl last year. That's been their focus this year, to get back. Against Houston, 24-0 in the second quarter. They come back and score 51 unanswered points. Against Tennessee, there is no question they fell behind against Tennessee. That gives me a little question mark, Tommy D. If teams falling behind, I don't like that.
You know what? That's what worries me the most here in this games. If the Chiefs are going to get beat today, if they fall behind, I don't know if they could play catch-up like against these other two teams. I believe the 49ers defense is much better than their last two opponents. So saying that, I think they need to just put the pressure on and go, put the pedal down and keep going. But Mahomes, a big game. But I think the other X factor for the 49ers, too, maybe we didn't talk about, but Coach's daddy, who is a Super Bowl champion. I'm sure he's getting some advice from his dad.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's a little X factor. That's Mike Shanahan.
Mike Shanahan, of course.
And I think that he is probably giving some pretty good advice to his son right now. That could be a little X factor also for the 49ers. Maybe some people are missing. I believe he won 2 Super Bowls, didn't he?
Yes, he did, back-to-back.
Yes, he did.
With
in
John
Denver.
Elway. Hey, breaking news here. Tom Brady has just signed with the Los Angeles Chargers. Can you believe that, Matty B?
No. Is that true?
No, but I thought I thought we'd be the first one to break it because that's where he's going.
I tell you what, if Tom Brady actually leaves New England and goes to work for the Spanoses, he is going to see the dramatic difference in a winning versus losing culture, and he is going to be very upset with what he decided to do to finish off his career.
Well, I'm telling you, he is going to be in a Charger uniform next year. There's no question
You
about it.
have fun with the Spanos family, Tom.
Yes, sir, baby. Matty B, we got to let you fly. We're coming up to the top of the hour. Have a great Super Bowl, a great season on Big Bet. Take a couple weeks off. We'll get ready for our March Madness special and college basketball. So, Matty B, you take it easy for Tommy D and Bob Hutton. Wade Taylor, we're coming back second hour right here on the radio.
Have you tried DRF Formulator PPs at DRF.com? Take your handicapping to the next level with premium features not found in DRF Classic PPs, including one-click access to complete race charts, full-screen video replays with both standard and head-on views, add your notes for a card, horse, or trip, and access from any device. View Timeform US pace figures, get customized printing options, and so much more. Try DRF Formulator PPs today at DRF.com/PPs.
Hi, everyone. Felix Taverna for Rough and Ready Moving and Storage. From down the street to across the country, if your move is too tough, you call Rough. That's my man, John Ruff, R-U-F-F, Rough and Ready Moving and Storage. Local or cross-country, military moves, corporate relocations, packaging, storage. They have it all in the Temecula Valley. That's roughandreadymoving.com. That's Rough and Ready, R-U-F-F, and readymoving.com. When you talk about San Diego legends, you got to talk about Big John at Tip Top Meats, a European delicatessen unlike anything in San Diego. You know, it's located in Carlsbad, and traditionally, it's been a fan favorite for many. Big John does it right. With the holiday season just around the corner, it's your best bet. Big John, Tip Top Meats, and top shelf fish. I mean, that's a daily double. You've been there, you know, it's legendary. The most trusted information provider in horse racing is now the leading logic in sports handicapping. The daily racing form has launched DRF Sports. Visit sports.drf.com to learn more and get the edge you need to win big. Access their exclusive database of trends and powerful angles for just $5 per week. And if you use promo code PENNY, you'll get your first week for just 1 cent. Visit sports.drf.com today. Hi, this is Felix Taverna, and I'm here to share with you a great place to begin your day, and that is the Broken Yoke Cafe. 15 San Diego locations to serve you. Downtown, Mission Valley, Bonita, East Lake, San Diego State, Point Loma, Mira Mesa, Del Mar, La Costa, Escondido, Oceanside, San Marcos, and Rancho San Diego. Benedict's, omelets, French toast, crepes, pancakes and waffles, sandwiches, wraps, burgers, soups, and salads. Start your day at the Broken Yoke Cafe.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat. Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.